right. This is the first of our dive defrags, our mothership version of the Delve Detox. So this is episode 4 in the books. We figured, hey, why stop a good thing? Sometimes we got shit to talk about if John and Ted aren't too tired.
You guys are always the weak link.
I know.
I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah,
I'm
Matt's
always
on the
ready to
East
go.
Coast too, but he's a night owl, so he's ready to rock.
It's almost as if
and
it's like
exciting. It's
12:30
fun.
there.
I don't know. You guys are both pansies.
I can't do it anymore. This game starts. We start playing this game like a half hour after my bedtime.
I look at Ted's face, man, and Ted's face during the last half hour of any session. He's like this.
Yeah,
Look,
I'll give plays. It's just like
I'll give Ted credit. He's a very attentive player, so it's not a slight on him. But you are 100% right. He might as well be staring at his iPhone at that point because his eyes kind of cross.
I can just see him going, okay, I have to be up in like 5 hours. I have to be up in 4 hours and 45
That's
minutes.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm having a blast with this game, y'all.
Dude,
This game is really, really fun.
I played a couple like short oneers, but this is next level, man.
I'm going to say, man, I did one game of Mothership at GaryCon last year. Had a great time. It did not have this level of like ick that this game has. Like,
Gradient-Descent is a masterpiece. I really think it is.
who wrote that fucking broom description? We need fucking therapy. That shit was awful, dude. That was awful.
That's pretty bad.
I mean, it was Luke Gehring and shit. Oh fuck.
John McCoy?
It's mostly Lou Gehring for the writing.
It's just yeah.
Luke, get help, man. That room was very upsetting.
Keep it up, Luke. Keep it up. We need more of this in the hobby. I love it.
I feel not okay. I don't feel okay after that. That was really
I love it. I feel great.
If there was any question of Thulsa's sexuality, that put her off men forever.
I love it. I love it. Oh my god.
We could kind of see it last session start to happen, but I'm starting to notice now the spiraling, the genius of the mechanics and the fact that they kind of spiral.
It's like dominoes.
Yeah. It's not like a death spiral because you're not necessarily dying, but it's just I like how the unique traumas of each different class sort of work together and can compound into something like truly awful, where everything and we saw it happen right there. You know, where just everything was just going, and you can see how quickly everything can just like fall apart.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It does kind of speak to one thing, like having one of all the same class might actually be beneficial in that effect. Like if everybody was a teamster, we would not have had that spiral that we had in this session with me panicking and like all the rest of that, right?
That's
It
optimistic.
also wouldn't be as cool.
That's true.
The Teamster thing is cool because our first panic check was actually going to be Ted last session, but he has that Teamster thing which allows him to do it with advantage. So he passed it. So
it's a feature. I'm a masochist, but it's a feature that I would love to see more of in all sort of OSR games. Right? I know there's like a curve of playability there, but it is incredible as a simulation, literally. Of the spaces we're in, right? It doesn't require the body horror of Gradient-Descent or like, space horror for it to be totally applicable to any like skeleton encounter we would have had in AV or Dolmen would, right? Like it's horror at its best. I love seeing it at play.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm going to say about that though is that people have the capacity to get used to like almost anything, right? So when you compare us to like a fantasy setting doing like skeletons, right? Eventually, after you fought like your 50th skeleton, you're going to have the same reaction to them that you will to that we would probably have, to be honest with you. But this is different, right? Because this is a group of people that are supposed to live in a sane place, science-based, et cetera, et cetera. But the horrors that we're encountering are compounding in the adventure, right? We're not meeting the same skeleton 50 times. We're going into a room where there's like a whole new layer of like awfulness layered on top of that. So it feels like it's thematic as well, right? There's only so many times you can fight a goblin and be like, oh no, a goblin, you know? So
although I love that train of thought. Let's see where I can pull that thread. I it's more obvious in like a survival horror sci-fi game because the analog is still semi-contemporary. We imagine ourselves as humans or human analogs in a space and the vulnerabilities that would play out there. Whereas in like a fantasy setting, if we conceive of ourselves as some fantastical sort of ancestry, we assume a level of bravery that honestly maybe shouldn't be assumed, right? Sure. Maybe it shouldn't be like, just because we as players are familiar with the genre, maybe that shouldn't be a familiarity on the character side, which is kind of, I was like, it'd be interesting to see how this would be mapped to a fantasy setting. At the same time, like, not to make. Go ahead, John.
Definitely add it on.
I mean, there's a bunch of. Go ahead.
The thing that keeps striking me, right, and the reason why I don't think that these would ever mesh is that you know your typical fantasy settings usually in the games at least that I've played and that we've played together have been like additive games. Like you get better at this. Like the more you do it, the better you get at it. But this is not that, right? The more things you encounter, the worse off you get, right? So you can't benefit from experience because the more things you experience, the worse you get until something horrible happens and you die. Right?
It's a trauma
you don't level up, you don't get better at it, you don't see your 50th skeleton because by the time you see the 10th horrible thing, you're so screwed up that you're just like a wreck.
There's something interesting there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You go, John.
Yeah, John. I
was doing my mouth because I was yawning.
I'm so glad we intrigued you so much.
Matt was boring me, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying here.
I thought after several days a week of 1,000-word essays on the Discord, you could at least hear our voice in person. But
take it
is what it is. There's an interesting. This is not a like design critique or suggestion per se, but there's an interesting topic there in terms of like inurement that you're getting at, Mike. If there were a progression system in something like this. It would be interesting for the progression to be that, right? Not that it would like stultify the fear spiral, but that if there was any progression, it would be sort of like a 1,000-yard stair level of acculturation to terror. Right. I don't know what that would look like. I'm not saying it needs to be there. It could probably break the game entirely, but it's an interesting topic to sort of like mull over in my head in a game like this. Yeah.
I don't have much experience with the survival horror genre, right? Like the only other game that I can think that I played in my entire life that would fit into that would be like some really old versions of Call of Cthulhu, like back in the day.
I've never played it.
I can guarantee you that when we were running it in high school and college, we weren't playing it probably right? Because the time that I was coming in, games were very much becoming closer to 3.0, 3.5. The whole point of the RPG was to build your character into a combat monster, etc. Obviously, Cthulhu didn't do it that way, but I think the zeitgeist of gaming was heading in that direction. And so the games that I remember, I don't remember us having a whole lot of negative penalties. I don't think we played them correctly. So I think this is probably the purest version that I've ever been in of the characters slowly going insane and cracking under pressure, right?
There's an interesting, to use that an analog to Traveler, right? There's like an aging mechanic within the character gen pre-play, right?
Yeah.
And there are aspects of doing multiple rounds within your like profession prior to play, blah, 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 that have benefits, but also aging after a certain point has detriments to various stats. There's something interesting there. Again, just pulling at a thread, whatever. But in terms of like the concept that we always sort of like default to in terms of adventurers retiring, it's like, well, they get enough wealth that they don't want to fight anymore.
Right.
But how intriguing is the idea that like they've seen too much, not to valorize trauma, right? Like not to make it like an aspiration, but they've just fucking been through much to want to do one more round of it is a fascinating sort of like loop there. I don't know, man. Whether they like have a break.
The reason why a lot of cops open bars at the end of their careers, right? Like, I mean, it's like I'm just gonna go open a bar, and my friends are gonna come in, and we're gonna have a great time, and I'm not gonna deal with any of this shit out in the world, Anyway, but good stuff, man.
And how the choices that we faced in that last room are just like, it's like, okay, you can go through the tunnel of shit, right? You can go into the giant weirdo sex room, or you can hang out and play video games.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but Matt, yeah, that's, I mean, again, I don't know what was in like the, I mean, there was a similar smell and they ducked beyond the bathroom, but the tactile horror of like, oh, it's gross in there, which is a very sort of like surface level, not to like diminish it, but a surface level aversion that anyone that has played enough D&D would typically curb away from. Good, valid, etc. Versus the psychological aversion of either of those two rooms in their extremities, right? One is so explicitly horrific, and one is so, in a sense, implicitly horrific, even though it has like a utopian face, right? That suddenly, at least for me, right, the shithole is tangible. I get my hands around it. It's not confusing. I know the threat and the sensation of it. It may still lead to something terrible, but it feels a lot more constrained in a way that I as a player and I as a character can engage in than the infinite frontier of horrors that exists in either of the two rooms, which would ostensibly, I mean, I could be wrong, right? Like the PlayStation room, for all we know, is fucking actually Eden, and why the fuck would we leave Eden? And we should just go and retire right there. Why the fuck not, right? Like there's no assumptions we can make this early on, right? Like there's so much subversion and intrigue and really like nuanced writing going on that the knee jerk of like these must be the baddies could very easily just be like, no, they are actually right.
Yeah. My only thing about that disagrees with that, David, is that the people on the other side of the shit turd in the middle of the pipe are a complete unknown, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
This is why out of the three rooms, I would almost say I would rather interact with the playground than either the shit pipe, because you don't know what you're going to find on the other end of that. If it falls into a big pile of like raving, maybe there's survivors that are trying to get out. That's totally a possibility. Maybe they're the other android, group that are whatever. Maybe the Minotaur is there and has ground them all into meat paste and is waiting for us to come through. Like, I mean, that's all kind of like one of the other things. I feel like the playground is probably the cleanest like interaction with a faction that we're going to find.
Sure. Well, go ahead, Matt. Here's the other thing about that room. We know that at least one other, group has interacted with this chosen king amicably, right? They succeeded. They were able to peacefully, correspond with him and pass through. So we know that that's a path that can work. We may be able to do that. We may not, but somebody did. So it's possible.
Right. Yeah, but have you heard the good word of the Minotaur when I tasted of his flesh? Enlightened.
Now that is actually a really interesting point, though.
Don't forget that I did not feel a destruction, but a form of trippy expansion of consciousness. That doesn't mean it's a good thing, right? David talking now, but like the Minotaur has such a negatively evocative thing, the labyrinth, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I don't think there are easy ascriptions we can put to any of these, but it is fascinating. I mean, I'm glad I fucking ate the flesh now, right? What that might imply to the information we have. The other thing I'll say in terms of the playground is I think your argument is very sound, right? It goes back to, in our prior campaigns, the sort of devil thing, right? Like the challenge you have information on versus the mystery. At the same time, I can't help but see a little bit of like a Dano and the Beastman aspect here, right? I don't know what mechanically that looks like in Eden, but come play PlayStation with me, and all of a sudden I'm getting video dromed through my eye sockets, right? And now I'm like, oh, I love the Monarch. I think that's excessively paranoid, honestly. I don't think that's the case, but that's the sort of intriguing terror of it, right? Like you think, I mean, let me be concise. If I'm stepping back on like a meta level from the experience of what we just got, the obvious direction is the playground, right? but we're in a place in which deception, for all I can observe, is like sort of penetrating every aspect of this space. So the obvious, again, not to fall to paranoia, but the obvious becomes itself, and the brilliance of it, a concern. That doesn't mean it isn't just true, right? It doesn't mean it isn't just true. It doesn't mean it isn't just sort of like valuable, but like, fuck, dude, I don't know.
You bring up a good point, something that has been discussed pretty much. First of all, listeners and or viewers, David's reference to Dano and the Beastman is a referral to our Arden Vool campaign. If you haven't checked it out yet, it was a pretty big part. But what I was going to say, though, is that one of the conversations that we've been having on the Discord is how our play style is changing up versus in Arden Vool, which is the last campaign, to this one. And I think that what you're bringing up, David, is actually really good. If it was Arden Vool, with all of the layers and all of the factions and all the rest of that, then I probably would give that maybe a little bit more credence. But I've never seen Gradient Descent. I've never looked at the book, obviously, for reasons, but they're like, it's 44 pages versus the 1,200 pages of Arden Vool. So I think we can probably take some things maybe at face value a little bit more and maybe have interactions with the space that aren't quite as, I don't know, like four-dimensional chess.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah. One thing that we've heard many, many times, and about every faction we've heard so far, is that nothing, not even the Minotaur, which is the closest thing to being like a monster described, for the very first thing that we heard about them is that some people interact with it and are fine, and other people aren't. So every single faction that we've interacted with, the thing that's been presented is, you do the right thing, you're going to be fine. You do the wrong thing, you're going to get killed. Right. So that's the constant here. It's either this or this, and it depends on what you do as to whether or not you're going to live or get torn apart.
I 100% agree. And I would, again, we don't need to talk about AV excessively here, but even within AV, that like relativity, yes, there are things that seem like more overtly X or Y, but that relativity, that like, let's take them on their terms and hear what they have to say, applies here, right? Like it because it's a horror game, to springboard on what Matt's saying, it is easier to hear a Minotaur, right? And think danger, and that may still exist in the same way that it's easier to hear Eden and think safety. And I don't think there is a right answer to either. It is a really interesting prompt for engagement. And I support us literally engaging with either as much as we can before we make a determination. And it may be that we can, perhaps with a little asymmetrical line, because I don't know if we want to admit we're interacting with one to the other and vice versa, but I think we can maybe safely, if we're savvy and we're kind. I mean, Mike, you did a fucking incredible job talking to them, right?
That was really good.
I just got to say it. I didn't know you had it in you. You fucking, no, but I'm kidding. But like, no, it was really, I was like, yes. Every time you said something, I was like, yes.
I did almost fuck up one thing, right? One thing and it was really good how John did this. John, good job. I was about to say, we're strangers here. We're not from here. We're from the outside world. And then John like dropped something in there about how like they don't know about an outside world. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh my God, I'm not paying too much attention to that,
Yeah, I mean, they didn't explicitly say, we know the outside world is dangerous. They said, we don't believe in an outside world. Right.
Yeah,
which is
something to fall into.
Interesting nugget. Yes.
But that to me is probably what Monarch is all about. Monarch wants to have this whole thing as like a contained system where all of his androids are basically doing his, I'm using the gendering him, but it's a computer, right? So, he wants all of that stuff like closed in. The fallen are probably just people, to your point about the Abrahamic religions. They got that fruit of knowledge, and now they know there's an outside, and they want to get the fuck out, right? And so he's trying to contain them. They're trying to break out through ship pipes or whatever, or like, whatever's going on. And the one thing we got to do is like, we are going to pick a side one way or the other. This is not going to be
speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
I think all we got to do is lie, Mike. All we got to do is lie.
Yeah, it's okay. You can see how that works out for you.
No, but Mike, I think. Go ahead, Matt. You first.
No, I was going to say one of the things that I think is really, really fascinating is, we're starting to get these hints of how everything relates to Monarch, which is, it makes sense because that is the central figure here. That is the god of this station or whatever. But what we don't know yet, and what's going to be interesting to find out, is the relationship of the Minotaur to Monarch. We don't know.
I'm betting it's going to be God and the devil. The devil in his aspect of freedom, right? Like freedom of choice, freedom of free will, et cetera, et cetera. And the monarch sitting over everybody being like, obey my laws or I'm going to smite your ass. And the Minotaur is going to be like, I want out.
The biblical stuff can't be ignored. It's very, very heavy. It's very strong.
Yeah. Yes, and that's why, again, I meant no offense by using the term myth, but as an android, that's why I was trying to provoke a theological sort of engagement with these things, not as a diminishment either, but as a literally in play as a question of relativity. So if again, we don't take Satan or the devil as a literal villainy there, but we say these are concepts that are being extrapolated as conflicting worldviews, right? Neither necessarily are villains. We could go to Monarch, right, and say this is a benevolent dictator. And the reason that dictatorship exists, we don't have the context for it, but there's a probability. Again, this is me doing AV alien shit, but there's a probability that people like us, right, hostile, extracting, selfish adventurers are coming into this home space, and Monarch doesn't have the ability to prevent us from doing so, but does want to preserve the safety of those who are within his or their grasp. That doesn't come from an intrinsically negative place, but it is dominant, right? It is sort of likewise with the one last thing, likewise with the Minotaur, again, though the symbols are well, what is a Minotaur, right? But with the Minotaur, if the Minotaur is a custodian in the labyrinth of escape, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that the Minotaur is intrinsically evil.
Correct.
But the Minotaur might be, like I said, a custodian for escape, and those who prevent escape, whether it be Monarch or anyone else, become an aberration to a larger knowledge. I don't fucking know, right? Blah 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 blah. But it's fascinating. Yeah, go Matt.
Well, here's the thing that it's always whenever we have the discussion like this, 9 out of 10 things I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's one that I disagree with on, and here's the thing.
Please do. Go.
If Monarch did not want people in that station, it would be extremely easy to weld that airlock closed or flood it with his people and lock it down. Whatever Monarch is, it wants people to come in because it's super easy. Shut the elevator off. Weld the airlock door closed. There are 1,000 different ways, and we have only seen a couple that it could shut it down if it wanted to be shut down. It wants to be porous. It wants people coming in. Why? We don't know yet.
The evidence against that, though, Matt, is that it looks like there has been an Android uprising, right? We keep finding conference rooms with tables flipped over. We find EMP mines. We find things like this. People were at war with the synthetic creations on this thing. At some point, Monarch was like, get all the fucking people out, right? But it's probably trying to keep water in a cheesecloth. There's too many entrances, too many ways to get in.
But there's one, right? There's one way to get in here
that we know of. Maybe he doesn't have the manpower to get up there and seal it all off. Maybe the Fallen are actually opposing that and trying to keep the ways open.
We'll find out. But
will we all die in an airlock and then we don't have
that for sure. and on that note,
I'm interjecting just to say that we have to stop it because I'm going to die if we don't.
and we all will, John. So I'll see you on the other side.
John, make a fear safe, please.